Let's delve into the intricate matter of personal growth in virtue. Imagine a person on a journey towards becoming a better individual. They embark on this path with hopes of shedding their ignorance and embracing wisdom. However, progress isn't always straightforward. It's like trying to learn music or grammar without feeling any improvement, or undergoing a treatment for an illness without experiencing any relief. True progress in virtue involves a gradual process of shedding old habits and adopting new ones. It's not just about accumulating knowledge, it's about embodying goodness in every aspect of life. If someone doesn't see a decrease in their foolishness or harmful behaviors, then they're not truly progressing. It's like trying to climb a mountain but feeling like you're stuck on the same level. In philosophy, progress means more than just acquiring knowledge, it means transforming one's character. It's about letting go of ignorance and embracing wisdom with every fiber of one's being. It's like turning a lump of clay into a beautiful sculpture through careful and deliberate craftsmanship. However, sometimes people don't realize they're improving because the changes happen gradually. It's like watching a flower bloom. You don't notice the changes until one day, you realize it's in full bloom. Similarly, personal growth in virtue often happens in small increments, but these changes accumulate over time, leading to significant transformation. But imagine if someone experienced a sudden and drastic change overnight, going from being cowardly and foolish to being brave and wise. It would be like waking up from a deep sleep to find yourself in a completely different world. Such a profound transformation would be impossible to ignore. So, in the journey towards virtue, it's essential to be mindful of the small changes happening within oneself. Each step taken towards goodness, no matter how small, brings one closer to the ultimate goal of becoming a better person. And just like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly, the process of personal growth is a beautiful and awe-inspiring journey. It's often wisely said, imagine you have a block of stone and a straight line drawn on the ground. The smart thing to do is to shape the stone so it fits neatly along the line, right? You wouldn't try to change the line to match the stone. That's the same way we should approach our beliefs and ideas. We should adjust them based on the facts, not force the facts to fit our beliefs. Unfortunately, not everyone follows this wise advice. Some people try to bend the truth to fit what they already think, instead of changing their minds when they learn new things. This causes a lot of problems, especially in the world of philosophy, where people try to figure out how to live a good life and understand the world around them. One big problem arises when people think everyone is bad, except for a few perfect individuals. This makes it hard to see any progress because everyone is seen as equally bad. It's like trying to measure how much better you're doing in a race when everyone starts at the same place. These people also make things confusing when they treat all wrongdoings as if they're the same. In their talks, they might compare someone who did something small to someone who did something really bad without thinking about the differences. But in their own lives, they avoid the really bad people while praising others, which doesn't make much sense. This kind of mixed up thinking just makes philosophy even harder to understand. 3. When we talk about evil, we know it comes in different levels, especially when it's about the stuff going on in our minds and hearts. It's kind of like when the darkness slowly goes away as the sun comes up, showing progress from being bad to getting better. So, it's not crazy for someone to feel like they're getting morally better, sort of like climbing out of a deep hole. And there are ways to see if you're getting better. Think about sailors out in the big ocean. They figure out how far they've gone by looking at the time and how strong the wind is. In the same way, in philosophy, you can tell you're getting better if you keep going steadily without stopping or going backward. It's like that saying, keep taking small steps and you'll get there. It's not just about getting more money. it's about getting better at anything, especially becoming a better person. By doing good things over and over, you build good habits. But if you keep stopping or doing bad stuff, you'll go backward. In math, when planets stop moving forward, they pause for a bit, like taking a quick break. But in philosophy, you're always moving, either getting better or worse, depending on what you do. So, if you're fighting against bad things day and night, and not giving in to temptation, it probably means you're getting better morally. Even if there are breaks in your studies of philosophy, if you find yourself studying more consistently and for longer periods later on, it's a good sign. It shows that you're pushing away laziness and getting better through hard work and practice. But the opposite is not good. If you keep facing obstacles and distractions without getting any better, it can make you feel tired and give up. Think of it like a plant growing. At first, it grows steadily because it doesn't face many obstacles. But as it grows taller, it can get weaker and start to bend because it faces more challenges. It's the same with philosophy. Some people dive deep into it at first, but if they keep facing problems without improving, they can lose interest and quit. But others get stronger as they face challenges. They push through and keep going forward. It's like falling in love. When you're with your loved one, you feel happy. But when you're apart, you miss them and feel sad. Similarly, some people get excited about philosophy at first, but if they have to stop studying for other reasons, they lose interest. But those who truly love philosophy feel a strong desire to keep learning, even when they're not studying. It's like feeling hungry or thirsty for knowledge. The more you gain from philosophy, the harder it is to be away from it. It becomes like a craving that you can't ignore. There's an old idea about progress that goes way back to Hesiod, an ancient Greek poet. He said that as you make progress, the journey gets easier. It's like walking up a hill that gradually becomes flatter and smoother as you go, thanks to practice. This idea applies to studying philosophy too. At first, it can feel confusing and uncertain, like sailing to a new land without knowing exactly where you're going. You leave behind what's familiar but haven't reached the better place yet, so you can feel lost in between. There's a story about Sextius, a Roman, who gave up his high-ranking positions in government to study philosophy. But he got frustrated and almost gave up because it was so hard at first. He even considered jumping from a tall building. And there's another story about Diogenes of Sinope, who felt down when he saw everyone else having fun at a festival while he was alone, trying to sleep in a corner. But then he saw a mouse happily eating the crumbs of his bread, and it cheered him up. He realized that even though he couldn't join the party, he still had something to be grateful for. When moments of doubt like these become less frequent, and we can quickly overcome them with common sense, it shows that we're making real progress. Students of philosophy face challenges not only from their own doubts but also from the advice of friends and the criticisms of others. Sometimes, friends might make fun of them or question why they're not chasing after the same things everyone else is, like success at court, a big marriage, or fame in public life. But a sign of real progress in philosophy is being able to stay calm and unaffected by these comments. It shows that philosophy has a strong grip on them. It's hard to stop wanting the things most people admire unless you truly appreciate virtue. Some people might boldly go against the crowd, but usually, it's because they're angry or a bit crazy. But to genuinely not care about what everyone else values, you need real wisdom. That's why people like Solon, Diogenes, Agesilaus, and Aristotle didn't care about worldly success. They valued virtue above all else. For example, Diogenes compared his simple life of moving between cities to the luxury of a Persian king who traveled between palaces. Agesilaus said, "What makes the great king greater than me, unless he's more just?" Even Aristotle pointed out that real pride comes from understanding God, not from ruling over many people. And Zeno, another philosopher, wasn't jealous of Theophrastus for having more students. He said, "Sure, he might have more followers, but my followers are more united." When you start thinking about the good things that come from being virtuous rather than just wanting external rewards, you'll feel less jealous and frustrated, which shows you're growing in philosophy. Also, pay attention to how your conversations change. At first, most new philosophers want to talk about things that make them look good. Some are like birds, fluttering to scientific topics because they seem impressive. Others are like playful puppies, enjoying arguing and solving tricky problems. Many focus on logic and argument skills, even though it can lead to tricky and dishonest arguments. A few just collect wise sayings and stories, but they don't really learn much. There's a funny story about how words spoken in cold weather freeze and then thaw out later, just like Plato's teachings take a while to sink in. It's common for people not to understand philosophical ideas until they're older and wiser. As you learn more, your judgment gets better, and you start to appreciate deep conversations that help build your character. It's like how Sophocles said he had to learn about language before he could understand the deeper meaning behind it. Pay close attention to how you engage with the writings of philosophers and their speeches. Are you more focused on the language and style, or are you truly absorbing the substance and wisdom they offer? Similarly, when you're reading poetry or history, are you just skimming the surface for enjoyment, or are you seeking out the deeper insights and lessons that can improve your character or soothe your emotions? Think of it like a bee gathering honey from flowers. While others may only enjoy the flower's colors and fragrance, you should strive to extract something valuable from the texts you encounter. For instance, some people might only appreciate the eloquent language of Plato and Xenophon without grasping the deeper meanings behind their words. They're like those who savor the sweet smell of medicine but overlook its healing properties. However, those who truly progress in their understanding can glean wisdom not only from words but also from actions and observations. Take Aeschylus, for example, who learned a lesson about resilience from watching a boxing match. Or consider Brasidas, who found courage in the resilience of a small mouse. Even Diogenes, by witnessing a man drink water from his hands, was inspired to simplify his own life. By actively engaging with philosophical ideas and putting them into practice, you become more receptive to virtue in all its forms. This contrasts with those who merely seek philosophical knowledge for the sake of impressing others or gaining social status. They're like the bird in Homer's tale, regurgitating knowledge without truly benefiting from it themselves. So, let's carefully examine how we use our words both for our own growth and in our interactions with others. Are we speaking to genuinely learn and share insights, or are we merely seeking temporary praise or trying to outshine others? It's crucial to check if we've moved away from contentious debates where winning is the goal, akin to a boxing match, and instead focus on constructive dialogue. True progress is marked by reasonableness, gentleness, and the ability to engage in discussions without resorting to anger or arrogance, whether we win or lose. Aristippus illustrated this beautifully when he gracefully accepted defeat in an argument, showing that inner peace is more valuable than fleeting victories. Another measure of our progress lies in our ability to speak confidently in various settings. Do we remain composed when addressing a large audience or stay undeterred when speaking to just a few? Can we articulate our thoughts effectively even in challenging circumstances, like when speaking before important figures or in public forums? Consider Demosthenes and Alcibiades. While both were knowledgeable, Alcibiades struggled with his delivery, often losing his train of thought. In contrast, Homer wasn't afraid to start his epic with an unpolished line, confident that his skill would shine through the rest of his work. Ultimately, those striving for virtue and honor focus less on external praise and more on the substance of their words, using every opportunity to contribute meaningfully to discussions and discourse. It's really important for everyone to look closely at what they say and do, making sure that what they're doing is actually useful, not just for show. If you truly care about someone or something, you don't need others to see it, you find joy in the simple act itself. When it comes to studying philosophy, progress isn't about bragging about the good things you've done, it's about quietly doing what's right, even when no one is watching. It's about standing up against temptation and doing what's honorable, even when it's hard. Real growth means finding satisfaction in your own actions, without needing others to praise you for it. And as you become wiser, you start to care less about showing off and more about being true to yourself. As you learn and grow, you'll realize that true wisdom isn't about boasting or seeking attention. It's about finding peace within yourself and quietly following the path of reason. So, don't worry about impressing others with your knowledge or achievements. True progress comes from within, as you become more humble and focused on what really matters. When people need a doctor, those with a painful tooth or finger go straight to someone who can help with that. Those with a fever call for a doctor to come to their home and ask for help. But those who are really sad or acting strange might not want the doctor to visit. They might even send the doctor away or run from them because they don't realize they're sick due to how severe their illness is. It's the same with people who make mistakes. The ones who refuse to listen and get angry when corrected are in a worse situation than those who accept advice calmly. Admitting your mistakes and being open to criticism shows progress. Diogenes said it's important to have either a friend who tells you when you're wrong or an enemy who points out your flaws so you can improve. If someone tries to hide their faults while showing off small flaws like a ripped shoe, they're not really making progress. But those who confront their faults, feel bad about them, and accept criticism are making real progress. For example, Diogenes once told a young man that hiding in a tavern won't solve his problem of drinking. The more someone denies their faults, the deeper they sink into bad habits. Similarly, pretending to be rich when you're poor only makes you poorer. Real progress means being honest about your mistakes, like Hippocrates did when he admitted his errors so others could learn from them. Bion suggested that real progress means being able to listen to criticism calmly, as if it were a compliment. And Pyrrho, in a storm, pointed to a pig eating barley calmly and said that's how we should be, undisturbed by whatever happens, if we follow reason and philosophy. Zeno said that a person can know they're making progress if they notice that during their dreams, they don't feel good about doing anything wrong. They don't accept or do anything bad. Instead, they feel a calmness from reason that clears away their emotional thoughts. Plato also talked about this. He said that in dreams, our irrational side acts freely, wanting things that are wrong, like incest or eating too much. But if we've trained ourselves well, even in our dreams, we won't act on those desires. Like well-trained animals that stay on track even without a driver, we, with reason, can control our desires, even when we're asleep or sick. Our training helps us stay calm in tough situations and not get carried away by emotions, even when we see something sad or beautiful. There's a story about Stilpo, a philosopher, who in his dream was visited by Poseidon, angry because Stilpo hadn't sacrificed a bull. But Stilpo calmly explained that he couldn't afford it and offered what he had. Poseidon then smiled and promised to send fish to Stilpo's town. Zeno and others say that dreams without fear or bad actions show progress, while dreams full of fear and bad actions show the opposite. They suggest that if we can control our emotions even in our dreams, it means we're on the right path. So, it's worth thinking about whether these things show progress in being a better person or if they mean we already have a strong, steady mind based on reason. Complete indifference is seen as something really good and almost godly, while progress is like calming down and controlling your emotions. It's important for us to compare how we feel now to how we used to feel and to how others feel, to see what's changed. We look at whether our desires, fears, and anger are less strong now than before, because we're using reason to handle what makes us feel that way. We also compare our feelings to each other, like if we now feel more embarrassed than scared, or if we want to be successful more than we want money. Overall, we check if we're finding a balance instead of going to extremes. When people make progress, their strong emotions become calmer, which means they're getting better. It's like when a sickness moves to less important parts of the body, it's a sign of getting better. So, when our strong feelings become more balanced, it's a sign that our bad habits are going away. Just like when Phrynis added 2 strings to a 7-stringed lyre and had to decide which ones to take away, we need to get rid of both the too much and too little in our emotions to find the right balance. One of the first signs of progress is when our strong emotions become less intense. Also, as mentioned earlier, actually doing what we believe in and not just talking about it is a clear sign of progress. One way to see this is by looking at our desire to follow what we praise and admire and our unwillingness to do or accept what we criticize. For instance, when Themistocles said that Miltiades' victory kept him awake at night, it showed he wasn't just praising Miltiades but also trying to be like him. So, we're not really making progress if our admiration for successful people doesn't inspire us to act like them. True admiration should make us want to emulate their good qualities, not just envy their success. It's not enough to feel moved by a philosopher's words. True progress means comparing ourselves to good people, feeling motivated to improve, and constantly striving to be better. A sure sign of real progress is feeling a deep affection for the virtues of those we look up to and making genuine efforts to be like them, while also sincerely honoring them. But if someone feels jealous or competitive towards those better than them, they're not honoring or even appreciating virtue. So, when we love good people so much that we not only see them as blessed for their self-control, but we also admire and want to be close to everything about them, their habits, way of walking, expression, and smile, then we're truly making progress. And it's even better if we don't just admire them when everything is going well for them, but also when they face hardships, just like lovers cherish even the smallest imperfections in their loved ones, or like Araspes was moved by Panthea's tears and sadness. We don't shy away from the difficulties that good people face, like the exile of Aristides, the imprisonment of Anaxagoras, or the poverty of Socrates, because we believe that virtue, even in hard times, is worthy of our love. So, we try to get closer to it and express admiration for it, like Euripides said, the noble honor find in everything. When our enthusiasm for goodness makes us admire and want to be like even the most difficult aspects of virtue, we're on the right path. People like this constantly think about what great people from the past or present would do in different situations, and they use them as role models to guide their actions and control their emotions. Just like how some people use charms to calm their fears, thinking about good people quickly comes to mind and supports those on the journey towards virtue, helping them stay strong in the face of challenges. So, this can show you if someone is truly progressing towards being virtuous. Furthermore, when someone is no longer thrown into great confusion, doesn't blush, or feel the need to hide or change things about themselves when they meet someone of high reputation and principles, it shows that they have some confidence in themselves. For example, when Alexander the Great saw a messenger rushing to him with great joy, he jokingly asked if the messenger was going to tell him that Homer had come back to life, because Alexander felt that his own accomplishments were worthy of such recognition. In young people who are still growing in character, there's no greater love than the joy of being in the company of good and honorable people and welcoming them into their lives, showing them their home, family, work, and ideas, whether spoken or written. So, they feel a deep sadness when they think of a deceased father or teacher who never got to see them in this way, and they would wish more than anything for them to come back to life and witness their life and actions. On the other hand, those who have ruined themselves through their own negligence can't even face their relatives without feeling fear and anxiety, not even in their dreams. Another important sign of progress, which you can consider alongside the previous ones, is when a person no longer thinks that any of their mistakes are unimportant. Instead, they are careful and attentive to all of them. Just like how people who give up hope of becoming rich don't care about small expenses because they believe that adding a little to a little won't make much difference, while those who still hope to become rich become more eager for wealth as they get closer to their goal. Similarly, in the pursuit of virtue, someone who doesn't accept excuses like, "What difference does this make?" or "I'll do better next time," but pays attention to every detail and gets upset if even the smallest error leads to vice, shows that they're building for themselves a pure treasure and refuse to tarnish themselves in any way. On the other hand, believing that nothing can bring great disgrace or is really important makes people careless about small things. Just like it doesn't matter much whether someone building a rough wall uses a random piece of wood or stone for the foundation, moral sloppiness happens when people accumulate actions and behaviors without care. But those who are making progress, like craftsmen building a holy temple or grand palace, carefully consider each action and place it where it belongs, guided by reason. This is what Polyclitus meant when he said that the task is hardest for those whose clay has reached the stage where they must use the fingernail, implying that true progress requires meticulous attention to detail.